Imagine if something horrible were to happen. Do you have what it takes to make sure your family survives? That you survive? That you can help people in your community? If you had to be as self-sufficient as possible for days, weeks, months, or maybe longer, a year or more, do you have what it takes? Do you have the knowledge, the skills, and the supplies, the preps required to survive and possibly thrive? There are three things that you should be thinking about in any survival scenario, ranging from common things like a temporary loss of income or an injury to full-blown SHTF apocalyptic scenarios. Three things you should be thinking about: security, water security, and food security. Those are the three main things. In today's video, I am going to do a deep dive into one of those categories, food security, and more specifically, gardening. Please watch this full video. This is one of the most important videos we have ever put together for you folks. And I'm gonna throw a lot of information at you, okay? This is decades of massive amounts of research and a massive amount of experience, hands-on, things that I've learned I wanna share with you folks. And I'm going to cover things that are rarely, possibly never discussed, okay, on other channels. So stay tuned, let's get into it. I wanna focus on the things you will need for a survival garden, the preps, as us preppers call it, okay? Now this is a big list, folks. Now this is not going to include everything. Feel free to add your own, but this is going to cover the basics and further than that. I'm gonna go even further, okay? So getting right into it. The number one thing you should be stockpiling are seeds. The type of seeds? Well, I'm happy you asked. Non-GMO, heritage seeds, okay? Heirloom seeds. Why? Well, heirloom seeds, you can save seeds and your plants will be true to the parent plant, okay? If you have hybrid seeds, if you save a seed from a hybrid plant, you might not get the parent plant, okay? You might get its grandfather, okay? Its grandmother, all right? So you wanna have heirloom seeds. I'm not going to get into the details of specific seeds, what survival crops are best, but what you want to think about are macronutrients. Anytime you can produce, whether it's livestock or gardening, macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, that's a win. So you want to focus on fuel, okay? Give your body and the bodies of your family members and your community members what they need to survive and hopefully thrive, okay? You want to think about starchy foods, okay? Grains, tubers, root crops, things like that. Things that are easy to grow and things that grow well in your area. Some of you might not be gardeners right now. You should be. And if you're not, these are things you want to have so that you're ready if something happens to start growing. You're also going to need some tools. You need the things to make it happen. Now, some of those are hose, shovels, wheelbarrows, okay? I recommend 2, okay? In the prepping world, 2 is 1 is none. So you have to imagine, and I don't want to say expect, but things happen, things break, okay? Things also in a real horrible scenario might get stolen, okay? Desperate people do desperate things. They're more inclined to do horrible things when times are tough, okay? So pruning shears, okay? You wanna have a watering can. You wanna have hoses. Now, when I say hoses, I'm talking about high quality hoses. You do not want things to break. And if they do, backups, and then backups for your backups. I recommend a flexible hose, or flexible hoses rather, plural, okay? Those are great and they're easy to move around and hopefully less likely to be damaged, okay? Watering is so important, obviously. Without water, you don't have crops. Gloves are essential. When you've got your hands in the dirt, folks, you don't know what's in that dirt. snakes, insects, spiders, whatever. Also, sharp things. You can cut yourselves. Now, if you cut yourselves in normal everyday life, that's horrible. It stinks. Put a Band-Aid on it, whatever. Now, in a survival scenario, it's arguably even more important to make sure you're not getting cut. A small cut in a survival scenario could mean death because of infection. Wear your gloves. Safety is so important. And also hand tools, mini shovels, mini rakes, things like that are good for small things. Containers. What kind of containers? All of them. Now you want to think about transplanting. So there's a sequence to gardening. You want to have a massive amount of starter trays, seed cells, seed starting trays, okay? And you want to stockpile those because you'll be using a lot more than you could possibly imagine. When you start doing the math and you approach things in a formulaic way, you'll realize you need a lot of food. Just think about how much you buy at the supermarkets now and imagine you are the supermarket. So I would say hundreds of seed cells of seed starting trays, okay? Also, small pots for transplanting up. There's an in-between, folks, and you want to maximize your space. So things to start seeds, small pots, medium-sized pots, and large containers. Speaking of large containers, consider raised beds. Please check out my previous video reviewing Vajayga raised beds. Use our code. You can save money. You can help our family. I recommend picking up at least 3 of those, upwards of 10 or more. Napoleon said, an army marches on its stomach. If you don't have food, you can't do much and you're gonna die, okay? So think massive, think of a massive operation. Now, those could be planters, traditional pots or common pots, raised beds, whatever. Now, I'm a huge advocate of diversifying your grow folio. You should be growing multiple ways. It's like a contingency. It is a contingency plan. It's a backup. If you're in-ground growing, if you're growing in the ground, if that fails, horrible weather, they're spraying more horrible things in the skies, okay? You might not be able to get a harvest with your outside growing. You might have to grow indoors completely. So have lots and lots of containers. I have found many containers over the years in the garbage, on the curb. People throw them out. Keep your eyes open. I'm a big fan of saving money, okay? Penny saved is a penny earned. Go to nurseries and ask them if they have any extra containers or containers that they're done with that they would give you or perhaps sell you at a discount, okay? That is something you want to start stockpiling now. Now, over the years, we have every year bought a little bit more, a little bit more. Now we have a lot, okay? Just like food, an extra $5 or $10 every time you go to the grocery store, you can begin to stockpile a good amount of food. Containers, same thing. A little bit at a time, and you'll get there at some point. Space. You're gonna need space. Indoors, outdoors, you need space. So if you don't have a garden plot or an area or a piece of land designated for gardening, well, you need to pick that spot and you need to start amending it, doing whatever you need to do to have it ready. If you're gardening already, you're good to go, you're good to grow. If you're not, pick your spots, okay? Also, if you have the space in your home, a gardening room, we're blessed and we have a room that is just for gardening. Now, if you live in an urban situation and a suburban situation, okay, space might be limited. There's another reason to have containers. You can grow in windowsills, okay? You can get some cheap grow lights and grow with a small amount of space. One of the things you can do to get food quickly, and I mean very fast, is you can grow microgreens, okay? So think about your space. Considering space, you don't want to just think horizontally, you want to think vertically. So there's things you can buy for vertical gardening. Those are great if you've got the money. If not, Be creative. Think upwards, okay? In the food forest, think about vines. Think about things that will wrap around trees, for example. If you have limited space, grow intensely. Pack those plants in. If you've watched my previous videos, I rarely follow the recommendations for seed spacing, for plant spacing, okay? You might be surprised at how well your plants will do if you pack them in. And companion planting, like we have citrus trees, we use our space well. I've planted sugar snap peas at the base of those trees. I'm maximizing space. So consider space and prepare your growing spaces. Soil, you need it. Now, outdoors, all right, you might have plenty of that. But as far as container gardening, you might not do well if you're using native soil. It's not always the best thing to go outside and just shovel some native soil into a container. The drainage might not be good, okay? And with containers, you can buy very cheap potting soil. I recommend dollar store potting soil. Do not get the stuff that has fertilizer added. I'm talking just processed things from the woods, processed trees, whatever, vermiculite, perlite, things like that, sand, peat moss, things like that. You can make your own potting soil for sure. I recommend just getting a massive amount or a little bit at a time, and you'll get there. You'll get the massive amount eventually of potting soil, simple potting soil. You can always add soil amendments. Speaking of soil amendments, you're going to want a lot of those stockpiled. Now I'm going to put fertilizers and soil amendments together because there is some crossover there, okay? Some things that are soil amendments are inherently fertilizers, okay? So soil amendments, things like worm castings, those are phenomenal, by the way. Bone meal, blood meal, biochar. Make your biochar now or have some charcoal ready to be inoculated. Just have a pile of charcoal ready to go, ready to grow. Peat moss is great for adding to potting soil, also using as a soil amendment for your in-ground growing. Anytime you can add organic matter, that's a win for container gardening and in-ground gardening. Okay, rock dust, specifically azomite, that's a popular one. It's really great to add minerals. And also, soil is a lot more than just organic matter. Okay, organic matter, that's compost. Soil is sand and or silt and or rocks and or clay, okay, or like I mentioned before, rock dust. Together with your compost, that makes soil. So you want to have things that are ready to top dress and just add to your in-ground growing areas. And also some stuff you could add to your containers for your soil. You can mix it in, you can till it in with your hands, or you can every year just kind of empty it out and just bring it back to life, add some soil microbiology, and you're good to go, you're good to grow. Also mulch. If you have a wood chipper, that's amazing. If not, some leaves. Just have a pile of leaves ready to go. You can crunch them up if they're dry. It's a great mulch. You could buy for very cheap pine shavings. A lot of people use pine shavings for litter and or bedding for livestock. Pine shavings are great. They're very cheap. You can get a massive amount for like a few bucks a bag, okay? So that's your mulch. Mulch is anything you can get that's going to keep the moisture in your soil. In a survival scenario, you might not have the ability because you might there might be water scarcity, okay? And or you might not have the time and energy to be constantly watering. So mulch will be even more important in a survival scenario. Sand. Sand is also great to help with drainage. If you have a lot of clay in ground, sand can help with that, okay? Especially if you are tilling. We recommend no-till in a survival scenario. Tilling might be the best way to go to get your operation up and running, okay? In some scenarios, even in non-survival scenarios, I recommend tilling once or twice, at least to find out what's in your soil. I just was digging with a shovel in one of our garden beds recently, and there was a tarp there in the ground, probably loaded with toxins. I don't want that, okay? You might find glass, 2-liter bottles, garbage, whatever. So tilling is sometimes arguably needed and sometimes beneficial, okay? If you've been gardening, get your soil to the point where it's good, and perhaps with soil amendments like sand, the drainage is great and you don't have to till anymore. If you can get to the point where you do not till, that's a win. That is ideal. Nature will take over and you'll have systems in place that the soil will repair itself if you've tilled it already, okay? Constantly tilling, bad. Don't do that. You destroy so many great things in your soil, and you'll ruin the texture of your soil as well. When thinking of fertilizer, a lot of people just think about NPK, okay? Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. And those are great. Those are arguably the most important nutrients for your plants. But be better, okay? Think about other nutrients like minerals and trace minerals as well. You want to stockpile these things. I believe Dr. Earth's, if I remember correctly, they make a great organic fertilizer. Everything you're doing should be organic. It's the only responsible, healthy way for your family, for yourself, for your community members, and for the environment to garden. There's no other way to garden besides organic, as far as what's healthy and responsible, folks. Organic fertilizer. Get those worm castings and get your compost. Compost is something everybody can make in a small space in a garbage pail. You can compost. Get your compost ready. Get it going now, so if something happens, you've got something to work with. And if you kick up your production of compost and you start gardening more on a massive scale, you'll have at least some compost to inoculate, to add to your new pile, your larger pile, okay? The compost is full of beneficial soil microbiology. And by taking some finished compost and adding it to your newer, larger pile, it's a catalyst to break that stuff down faster, better, and inoculate it with the wanted, okay, the desired, beneficial soil microbiology. Consider indoor gardening. Well, you don't know what might happen, folks, and I want you to imagine a situation or situations that you can't leave your home. What if you have to make it happen in your home? Grow lights. Now, some of you might be thinking, I don't have the money for grow lights. I get it. We don't have the money for expensive grow lights either. You can get very cheap, like General Electric single bulb grow lights for $25 or less. Pick up one every few months and you'll stockpile, okay? Obviously with grow lights, you'll need a source of energy, okay? If the grid is down, you gotta figure something out, all right? You might want to have a generator, okay? Solar power, other alternative sources of power. But with microgreens, for example, with a simple grow light, you can produce food in perpetuity, okay? And it's very easy. And those grow lights, by the way, here's a little tip for you. Plants need, in order to thrive, dark hours. They need darkness, okay? Plants heal, they rest, they uptake nutrients when it's dark. So you'll want them on, I would say, a minimum of 6 hours, closer to 8 to 10 hours, and then you want to have them off for the rest of the time. Get some cheap grow lights. Also, think of containers for your containers. Very important for indoor gardening. If you're holding a whole bunch of seed cell trays and little mini pots, nursery pots, whatever they're called, you're gonna get tired of that real quick. Cardboard boxes are great, okay? We have some black containers that we bought at years ago. A store was maybe having like a foreclosure, they're going out of sale business or something. I think we got them for like $1 a piece. Keep your eyes open for containers for your containers. Folks, I didn't cover everything, but I covered the basics. I covered beginner, intermediate, and maybe some advanced stuff. If you get the things that I mentioned, you're good to go, you're good to grow. It's easy to grow food for your family. Sometimes things fail. It's part of gardening, okay? You learn as you go, you learn as you grow. But for the most part, gardening can be very, very easy. It's a rewarding experience, and whether it's a survival situation or it's not, maybe you just want to save more money and lower your grocery bills. Maybe you want more delicious food for your family, more nutritious food for your family. Homegrown food is scientifically proven to be way more nutritionally dense than your typical store-bought food, okay? Whatever your goals are, if you're already gardening, you're more prepared. If you're not gardening, start gardening. At the very least, pick up these items a little bit at a time, and after a few months, after a year or so, you'll have an impressive amount of stuff and you'll be ready to tackle whatever life may throw at you. Folks, from my heart, okay, I don't want to alarm you. This is not to scare you. This is to help you have peace of mind, okay? The best thing is peace. One of the best things in life is to have peace of mind. If you can look your spouse, if you have a child or your children, your spouse and your child or children in the eyes and let them know they'll be okay, that you'll take care of them, okay? With God's help, you can make it, and you can make it through horrible times, okay? Begin learning if you haven't already, or continue if you have. Build the skills, get the things. This is a great list for beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Work on this list, start to acquire these things. And let me know in the comments below if you learned something, if I reminded you of something, if I provoked some thought. Let me know in the comments below. Okay, I love you all. Prep up, be well, take care.